Bam, we're live.
Oh, okay.
Facundo's first question: where the fuck is Brian? My words, not his.
Yeah.
My paraphrase.
He told me he was going to be there, so.
I sent him a text just now with the link, and I said 8 minutes. I sent him
I think that I need to turn off. It's done. Wait.
And I said,
Let me just.
I muted him. I've never muted a guest. And it was a great show, guys. Thank you for coming. Facundo, stunning background. And we'll see you this evening. Good evening. Oh, yeah, from Dubai. Good evening, Melissa. That was a great show. Thanks for coming on, Caleb. That was 2 shows, 12 hours apart. That is a record for our shortest show ever. And we'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 a.m. Who do we have tomorrow? Oh, that's awesome. We went from Facundo to Brian. We went from Facundo to no Facundo to Brian.
Dalton Musselwhite tomorrow?
Oh, that's right. That's right. That's the weight loss rate. You know, I think that guy weighed 515 pounds and dropped down to 215.
Dude.
And I think he's put on like 85 more. It's going to be fun getting to I love those stories. But don't tell anyone. The reason why I really like them is those are my easiest podcasts because I have so many questions that are just like.
You didn't mute me. It just kicked me off.
Oh, I did. Did you get kicked off?
Yeah.
Oh, oops.
Good morning, Facundo.
Good morning, Brian. I'm very happy you're there.
I knew I had to come on this one.
Yeah, I'm actually more scared about you than Sevan because I know Sevan. I can tame him quite easily.
You can tame me quite easily. I'm having a guest on next week named Patrick Bet David, and he was on Joe Rogan, and when he was on there, I was watching the video, and he kind of takes over the show. And I was like, oh, yeah, I had a guest like that once who fucking took over the show, Facundo.
Laura Horvath.
What? I don't know if she took it or you took it over. Laura Horvath was just like, I thought I was doing a podcast. It turned into a lion taming show. But you actually took it over. Like, I felt like I was on a couch laying down and you were getting to the bottom of my issues. I was like, oh, shit.
Well, if you start the conversation where saying, I dreamed and I'm feeling very intimate today. You know.
Is that how I started it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That means the door is open.
I have no boundaries.
I actually been doing some research on you, and I realized the other day I watched, and it's a good way to start, I think. I heard that you said to Angela Di Chico that you are scared of turbulence, and when you are flying and you get scared, you have a tendency of thinking of people that you dislike enormously, and you tend to shout or to say,
I love you. Yeah. The one correction I'd say on there, it's not that I think of people I dislike, but I have a protocol where if your name pops in my head, regardless of how I feel about you, I have to like give you my best I love you. And sometimes people put names pop in my head that I don't want to say that to, but it's the rules. The rules are the rules.
I think it's interesting that in moments of despair, you find solace in people you don't know, random people that you tend to shout out loud, you know? I mean, in moments of despair, I will be thinking about my family. I will be thinking about, I don't know, you know.
They come in once in a while. They sometimes one of them.
I think that in the next few hours, we can touch back into that when you.
Okay. Anytime, I think that Facundo has is that your, I'm not even going to say it. I'll accidentally unleash the Facundo beast if I say it.
Oh, you can go.
No, I'm scared of you. Facundo, are you in Europe?
I'm in Europe now. Yeah, I'm finally after 2 months of traveling. I'm back home for 10 days.
And you're in Geneva?
No, I wish. I'm in Brussels, in Belgium.
Brussels. And why did I think you're in Geneva? Do you work in Geneva? Where are my wires getting crossed?
No. I think that you thought about that because I used to work in the European Parliament. And even though, even though Geneva is not part of the European Union, many people believe that everything that is diplomacy in the EU is in Switzerland, which is incorrect.
Okay. And Brussels is, can I see where Brussels is, Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, you will have a hard job finding it out. It's a tiny country in between France, Luxembourg, Germany, and the Netherlands.
And Luxembourg's not. It might even be smaller.
Yeah. So that is where I live, and so if you go west, you have France. Well, that's east. That's Germany.
Can you come out even more, Caleb? Because I still have no idea where we're at. Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't even know Brussels was so Brussels is the capital of Belgium?
Brussels is the capital of Belgium, yeah.
I took a train one time from Netherlands to Paris, and when it stopped in Belgium, some gypsies robbed us, but we were able to chase them down and get it back. It was nuts. It was absolutely nuts.
You're telling me that you faced some gypsies and you beat them and you won?
I did not fight them, but I got my stuff back. We chased them down and got our stuff back. There was no beating anybody.
Okay, good.
That happened to us in Vietnam. We got totally just fooled by two people on motorbikes. There was no chasing them down.
I mean, you know that I love Americans, but many of these countries tend to see you as very naive, so they take advantage of you.
Yes. We basically what happened is it was myself and a friend, Carrie Peterson, and we jumped on a night train from Amsterdam to Paris. And when the train stopped in Belgium, they had opened our train doors and taken some of our luggage and our passports, and they made it seem like they got off the plane. And when we ran and asked the guy, I guess they're called a train conductor. It's the guy who watches the door of people coming on and off the train. And we said, hey, did you see anyone jump off the train? And all of a sudden, when we got on the train, he spoke English. And then all of a sudden he didn't speak English. And it was weird. So it was like 3 a.m. and we started opening the doors of all the cabins, and we opened a cabin, and there were like 10 people in the room from age like 5 to like an 80-year-old woman. And they had taken all the seats in the cabin and turned them all into beds, and they were all sitting on there. And they were gypsies. They were dressed like gypsies. And I said, hey, where's my bag? And a big, like 15-year-old kid stood up who could have easily beat me up. And he starts yelling at me in some language I don't understand. And then I looked under the chairs and the couches, and there was our stuff, our jackets, our passports, our luggage. So I grabbed it and ran back to our cabin. It was scary. It was scary shit. I almost got beat up by a 15-year-old.
Can you define gypsy, please, in your eyes?
Yeah. Like just a motley crew, first of all, it was like their family. It was like 4 generations, right? It was a little kid to the grandma. They were all together. They had everything in this cabin. Like they looked like they were huddled around a campfire, but it was inside of a train cart.
I mean, you have a big imagination, right? But
yeah,
anyway,
amazing
imagination. You're just telling me that anybody who is like oh man.
Yeah. Oh, it was those people in that black and white photo, but add 4 dudes to it. Okay. Hey, but I would have really liked to have seen the Gypsy Sisters. That would have been awesome.
The problem is that nowadays the term gypsy, and you know that you're going to love this, but it's kind of politically incorrect, because you might want to call those people that are called Roma not gypsies, so they are part of their populational culture in Europe.
Yeah.
And gypsy, I don't know. I don't think we use the term gypsy very much anymore. But you like controversy. I'm sure you can keep using it for a while.
I heard that you're supposed to not even say, like, there's this phrase in the United States that you say, I got gypped, meaning like you paid too much for a car or something. And I heard that you're not supposed to say that because that's a reference to gypsies, and then it means that gypsies gyp people. But it's funny, I never thought of gypsies as a ethnicity. Like, I thought there were Armenian gypsies and Mexican gypsies. I just thought it was just like people who, like nomads. I thought it was nomads who steal wallets.
Yeah. But the picture you just showed before,
yes,
they are Roma people from the ethnicity of Roma. It's Roma. If our beautiful producer can go back to the first picture.
He's got it here.
So I'm using the word inappropriately. This is a disgrace. And I pride myself on using words correctly. So you're absolutely right. What should I call them? Bandits. I'm going to call them bandits, train bandits.
But bandit doesn't mean that everybody in a family around fire are bandits, right?
No. But I'm going to go with bandits because I like bandits. Because then it sounds like I was tougher. Like I wasn't getting robbed by a 15-year-old boy and an 80-year-old woman. I was bandits.
Good. I mean, bandit is very cowboy to me, but it's a good term. You can use it.
What if we call them nomads?
They can be Romani people that live in their territory and they don't have to move. and then you will expelling them from their own. There you go. Okay.
You know what's crazier too? I'll tell you just how I don't know what the word is. I don't think racist is the word, but it was weird getting punked. I think they were speaking French, and it was weird getting punked by someone who speaks French, because like in my being, it's like the language of love. Like anyone who speaks French, I should be able to beat them up. But like they were like, I was terrified of them, and they were speaking French. It was like getting beaten up by a pillow. It was like I was like, holy shit. It was scary. And I had weed. I was smuggling weed in my underwear. Me and Carrie Peterson were. And so I was like, shit, we can't even like go to the cops because then we're going to get busted. It was fucked up.
Were you intending to smoke that weed after was in your underwear for a while?
I guess. You know what I ended up doing with it is we ended up going.
I would complain about that more than being robbed by bandits, I have to say. Yeah, that's more shocking.
I ended up mailing when we ended up going from Paris to Ireland, and then in Ireland we took it on the plane to Ireland, and in Ireland we ended up mailing it to this. We gave some to our host in Ireland, and we mailed the rest home to the United States.
And you got it back.
We were done. Yeah, it all worked out. I think it was crazy. I know.
You better love the American post service, no?
Yeah, that was 1990. That was 1992. 1990. 1992. How old are you, Facundo? Are you you're 36?
Yes, +9. I'm 45.
Oh, no shit. Okay. Wow. How come you don't have any gray?
I do have some gray. Yeah. I mean,
it's more in your beard than your hair.
I know it's everywhere. I mean, it's not everywhere. I think
it's by the weed. It's by the weed too.
It's on my beard. Yeah, but
I don't have any below here yet. I do have some nose hairs that I see gray, but I don't have any like pubic hair, no chest hair, no butt hair, no arm hair that's gray yet. But I think it happens.
I don't want to check, to be honest.
All right, I'll keep you informed without checking.
Now. So how's everything, Sevan? Are you happy, man?
I am happy. I'm wondering what's going on in Europe, though. I'm wondering, like, are people freaking out? Like, I woke up this morning to something like it feels like I'm in a movie. It's like Putin goes to raise his nuclear alert, and I'm like, what the? Is this fucking real?
Unlikely it is. It's very, very sad. Honestly, it's a very sad situation. I mean, I just hope that authorities, governments, politicians, man up or woman up, and they find a way to stop this. The European Union has already established some sanctions for Russia, but they are very soft. And actually, the sanctions are going to be more aimed to make poor people poorer,
of course,
having less access than the rich friends of Putin to get themselves in stress. The most irritating news for me is that Switzerland, which is where most of the Russian money is, has said once again, it's not my problem. I am not going to do anything that will put our customers in stress. And by that, they mean the Russian money that is at Swiss banks. And I find it a very sad news again.
In Switzerland's the country, they're always neutral, right? They're the ones in all the wars. They stay neutral.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you do you have a lot of knowledge about that? Are you familiar with the entire situation because of your past and just because of your location?
No. To be honest, not so much. At the moment, I'm more aware of how many reps are in 14 rounds of 22.1 for obvious reasons. But my last master was in international conflict and security, so I studied humanitarian law, which is the law of the war, and I have my own way of seeing stuff, at least conflicts. And it's how it's apparently to my ears sounding a very, very sad moment.
Is your husband in the parliament? I forget what he did, but he's somehow intimate with the parliament, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And is he home, or is he with you, or is he somewhere?
No, they went out for a swim.
Okay, but he's not abroad somewhere. He's not in Ukraine, stuck in an embassy. Okay,
we are here in Brussels. Yeah.
Is Europe? Is it? We're far away, but is Europe? Is it tense there?
Is it sorry?
Is it tense in Europe?
It's very tense at the moment. Yeah, but you have to understand that one of the most devastating wars in history happened here not long ago, where still some people that went through that. And, many of the countries here were very closely related to this war. And we Europeans, they don't take the word war very easily. It's something very traumatic, and we will try to do everything in our hands not to get to that point. But when an external actor comes and they said, okay, I want this, I'm going to declare it anyways, it's very complicated to foresee or to analyze what are the correct steps to follow.
If this is out of your area of expertise, feel free to push back.
I'm not an expert; it's my opinion, but tell me, ask me.
So the way the picture is, the rough idea that I have of understanding of what's happened, and I haven't done a lot of research on it at all, but basically that there's theoretically Ukraine is split into two parts. There's a part of it that's been saying, hey, we want to go back to Russia, and Russia's using that as an excuse to say, okay, we're going to take these guys back because they want to come back, but while we're there, we're also going to take back a little bit more. Is that it, or is there more? Is there a pipeline? Is there energy? Is there?
I mean, this is a very, very personal opinion, and I say it again, I'm not an expert on the matter, so but as some of the data we have or we've been collecting, after the 90s, Russia has been over and over bullying the neighboring countries or the countries that have, and you know it very well, you're Armenian. I know that Armenia was not part of the US, but it's a neighboring country, and every time I wouldn't say Russia, but some authorities or some, chief of states of Russia had the chance were annoying here and there. And there's also the issue of gas. Most of the gas that we consume in Europe goes to Ukraine. So Ukraine takes part of a commission from bringing this gas from Russia to Europe. And of course, Russia is not very happy of paying a commission for using Ukrainian soil to transport gas. I'm not saying that this is the only reason either, but if you collect a lot of, little points here and there, but I guess that only time will give us more information regarding on what is maybe really happening and what are Putin's ultimate goals with all of this.
Yeah. So no one really knows what his end game is.
He's a guy that is. I've been in Russia many times, and it's actually it's a paradox, because Russia is very unlikely of what people believe, especially in the Western continents, where they believe that it's still a communist country, it's very social, and it's the complete opposite. The highest conglomeration of richest people in the world are in Russia, and the biggest chunk of poorest people with India and China are still in Russia. So this idea of a communist, all sharing, where everything belongs to the states and everybody gets a part, doesn't exist anymore. It's a very, very liberal capitalistic place. And I think that Putin in the last years have unluckily managed to, to segregate a lot of hate and a lot of very extreme behavior. And when a chief of state allows people to be violent, aggressive, racist, and he said, okay, that's fine. That's not the most ideal. People feel empowered by the authorities to do so at every single level. So as you can see, I'm not a big fan. But
right. He do you sense that he's a madman?
I mean, this will sound very childish. I just think that he's an evil man.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, it's so hard. It's so hard to tell because we have the language barrier. He always seems like he's in control. He always seems well spoken. But the stories, of course, that we hear are I guess the easy way to sum them up is evil. I mean,
in order to maintain that, you need to be very well spoken, very clever. Yeah? I mean, he built a, I wouldn't say empire, because I know that you saved the word for something else, but a fortress in which,
thank you.
That was clever.
If many people, many spies that left Russia were killed. I mean, there was a very famous case of this spy that was killed in the UK by some venom that was put and so on. And everything that is opposition has been somehow minimized violently by the authorities led by Putin. So it's very complicated, and that's
Yeah. Hey, do you know Roman
Krenikov? Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I worked with him for a while, and I was involved back then in his first visa issue.
And do you think that this significantly affects his ability to come to the games this year?
Well, I don't know. So yeah, probably. I can imagine
But it wouldn't affect him specifically. It would just really affect any Russians who are trying to get here.
Exactly. I mean, one of the measures the sanctions that the European Union wants to set on Russia is denying the access of Russians. I really don't know if it passed. It was voted, but it was to deny access to Russian to the European soil. I'm not sure what are the measures that the United States is going to take.
Hence, going back to what you were saying, it affects poor people, because if you're rich, no one's stopping you. You're going to get on your jet and you're going.
Exactly.
And I've seen that firsthand.
Exactly.
Rich people fly wherever they want.
I just hope that good Roman makes it to the games this year.
You just hope what?
That our good friend Roman makes it to the games this year and show what he's able to.
Do you have any concerns about? Do you have any desire? Is the tension so great that you have any desire to vacate Europe?
No. The problem with Ukraine is that Ukraine is not part of the NATO. You know, would something happen in European soil, then all the European countries on the NATO will act accordingly together, and that will be hopefully we don't have to get there, but there will be a full throttle war, a full conflict.
Oh man.
Yeah, I just read yesterday that by official sources that the war is costing Russia $20 billion a day.
That doesn't sound very sustainable.
Yeah, especially and that's why maybe these sanctions in which they can freeze their assets and so on. If Switzerland would say, okay, guys, we don't give you any more money, they will be immediately obliged to reconsider whether to continue, because, as you say, it's unsustainable. But we'll see. Let's hope that a solution is.
No, this is a super wise thing. I don't think a lot of people are considering. But when I was a history major in college, and one of my history teachers says, anytime you want to study a war, just follow the money.
Yeah. But that's why the sanctions were aimed to freeze that, and that is what for me is very upsetting that Switzerland doesn't want to collaborate in that aspect.
Do you remember what happened in Cyprus a few years ago? The country was basically going bankrupt, and they decided, and the European Union bailed them out. And go ahead. Yeah. I mean, Cyprus, the island is divided into two. There's a Turkish part. There's the Cyprus, and there is a territory that's called Famagusta. There's a ghost territory. Actually, it's incredible if somebody wants to Google it. Maybe not now, but to read. Famagusta was a territory that belonged to Cyprus, and when the Turkish came and invaded that territory, everybody was told, leave home, go to the southern part of the island, and in a couple of days, when the conflict is solved, you can come back home. And the territory is left. You can visit, behind bars, and you can see, and the houses are still the way they were left 40 years ago.
Abandoned.
Oh, wow. 40 years ago, 41, I think. The European Union takes responsibility for the member states, and if these kind of issues arise, they are there for them.
I had this guy on, Brent Mesrick. He wrote Accidental Billionaire, and he wrote the movie The Social Network. He's the author of those. And in that book, The Accidental Billionaire, he talks about the Winklevoss twins. They're the actual creators of Facebook, and then Zuckerberg took it from them, or basically created a duplicate version and launched that and kind of buried theirs, right? Because they hired Zuckerberg to make Facebook for them, but then Zuckerberg made it for himself. It's an interesting story. But anyway, these guys started buying Bitcoin, right? Shitloads of it. Well, I guess Cyprus was going bankrupt and the European Union bailed them out. But Cyprus had to do one thing. They agreed with the European Union that they would take, I think it was like 50% of all the money out of their banks from their customers who had over 100,000 euros. And that they called it like a tax, but they basically stole that. And the reason why Cyprus, how they justified that, is 1/3 of the money in the banks in Cyprus at that time was Russian money. I guess that was the place the Russians were putting their money. I want to say illegal money, but fuck if I know. I'm just saying that because it sounds good. But
I understand that they have money in many places.
sure, I guess if you have a ton, right, like Switzerland, yeah.
When you have a ton, you have to divide it.
And when they did that, that caused Bitcoin to skyrocket. That's how the Winklevoss brothers became billionaires, because when the world saw that governments would take your money out of banks, everyone started dumping their money into Bitcoin, like all over the world. They saw Cyprus as like this experiment. And I wonder how this thing in Ukraine is going to affect cryptocurrency.
To answer Melissa, she left a message. It's different because Dubai has the UAE has an agreement into exposing accounts. So money that is in Dubai, they has a name. The bank account has the name of a person. It has a name, and you can find that person. In Switzerland, you don't. You just put the money there, and you just get a code or whatever that is. I don't know what is the procedure now, but nobody knows who the owner of that money is, and that's what makes things more complicated.
How old's your daughter now, Facundo?
Oof, I love the good.
180.
We're going from evil stuff to nice stuff. She's 5.5.
Yeah. Does she have any idea of what the conflict or anything like that?
Well, actually, yes. And yesterday she went to the manifestation in front of the Russian embassy with a banner saying no to Putin's war. So
you went over there and
I didn't go. Some friends of mine went, and my daughter wanted to go with, and that's what she did.
You let your daughter go with your friends?
No, well, their friends, and the other father was there too, but I wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't let my kids out of my sight. Even though I'm kind of lying because I'm on this podcast right now and I can't see them. Trust it. I don't trust anyone with my kids.
Well, but they're on the estate.
Oh yeah, I mean, but she's very aware, and she's I'm very proud that she took matters in her own hand, and she was explaining why was the manifestation taking place, where, and the reason why. And she, I actually have the banner in the next door. I can pick it up. It's bigger than her, she was.
What's it say?
She says no to Putin war.
Man, I wonder what's going to happen to the leader over there. I hope he gets out okay.
Yeah. He's the number one target and the family number 2.
Did you see that? I don't know if it's true, but did you see that thing on Instagram where the lady walks up to the soldier and she hands him, the Ukrainian woman, and she's handing him sunflower seeds. And she said, put these in your pocket so when you die, sunflowers will grow from your body. Did you see that?
No, I haven't seen that. But I've seen some
shit
from the Chinese. I don't remember the name of the square. Tianmei, I think it was, when that happens some years ago, and people start to revolt, and there were many Chinese giving flowers to the soldiers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Here. Wow, Caleb.
You have a great production. Since our last podcast, these things you upgraded everything.
Yeah, we just started pouring money on Caleb, and the shit just got better. He just needed some money. Caleb. Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, who knows if that's what she really said, but that's what the clip said, so I'm gonna buy it. I saw this show last night, Facundo, called In and of Itself. Do you know that show? No. It's on Hulu.
No, we don't have Hulu here.
Oh, do you know it, Brian?
Nope.
In and of Itself. The author's name is I highly recommend it. Do you know that?
Derek Delgadio.
Derek Delgadio. In and of Itself. It's a one-man play, and he interacts with the audience, and it's about discovering who you are. It's a trip. It's such a trip. I thought it's interesting. I thought for sure you would have seen it for some reason, Facundo.
No.
All right.
I've been watching videos of 22.1 since Thursday evening, I guess.
How is everything? So what happened over there? Samuel, he's going team now. That guy seems so dead focused on winning the games when I interviewed him. I'm kind of like tripping. I got to get him on here. Why did he switch to a team? I guess you could still win the games on a team.
What's happening to?
Samuel.
Oh, Sam, yeah.
Samuel Cornwall.
Yeah. Well, he's not thin. He's strong. He's very strong, actually. No, I think that, if I were a competitor and I have a bright career in front of me, as he has, because he's really an amazing athlete, and Rich Froning offers me to go with him as a team member for 1 year, I think that is a incredible learning curve from that. Training as a team member, training with Rich, working with Rich as a team member. It's I don't know. I think it's kind of the magical touch that Rich has. Whatever person is in the team, they win, and that is because almost. That is because they work in a way that is very interesting, and I'm sure that I know that Sam will take this year as an experience for going to the games as a team if they qualify, and eventually have fill his pockets with a lot of experience and having learned from Rich.
It is a little different though. Most of the male teammates that Rich has had have either never made the games as an individual, and none of them have gone on to make it after being on a team with him on their own.
Yeah, I mean, Hobart was at the game 2014. And
yeah, he's the exception.
Of course, I need to defend myself. So I was going to find the
well, that's why I said most and not all.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I was gonna say I'm not sure if that's valid though. Well, it's not that it's not valid what Brian said. I think it makes implications that maybe are too strong. Like who cares if no one's done that before, right?
Oh no, I was just saying it's different, and there's a couple things that you could take away from that. I don't think it takes away at all from Sam's potential of making the games in the future. I agree with Facundo that this will be a great experience for him, and he'll come out of whatever happens this season as a better athlete, probably more cerebrally than anything else.
Sure, yeah.
But also it says a little bit about Rich and Mayhem. It's like this is the strongest play that they've made yet, I think, because picking up Andrea and Taylor is one thing, but they were already winning. And there was really I didn't think there were some teams obviously being made in the off season, but it tells me that they thought we have to have a really good team this year if we want to win again.
Yeah, I mean, last year they won with a big margin, a very big margin, despite people, saying Chase is a new person. He's not strong as the rest of the field, as the rest of the team members. And they managed to have, I don't know, maybe the biggest margin, probably. There were more events, but the margin was very big. No, to be honest, I think that people have a tendency of overthinking the decisions that will make a Mayhem. And sometimes are very simple. Hey, bro, do you want to make team this year? Oh, sure. Bro. Let's make teams. Okay, we're going team. And then they go, yeah, because he didn't do that on this point. He felt the snatch. He believed that he needed to go back to the basics. No, very often the decisions are not random and thought, but they are sometimes a bit more simpler than what people tend to analyze.
I think it's even simpler than that. I think fucking Rich goes to the Mayhem family tree and just fucking shakes it, and some dude falls out. Yeah, this dude falls out. Chase, he's like a third cousin from a step family. He's like, "Yo, you're in." And Chase is like, "All right." I think that's the gene pool over there. They just
Who would say no? Who as a competitor would say no to being in a team with Rich Froning?
Right.
I mean,
Matt Fraser.
Hey, those guys got to do that. Those guys, they should
but
get
he was there.
They should get a building.
I think he wasn't offered. Sorry.
So that might be the case.
Those guys should get a building and put a thick piece of glass, like bulletproof 2-inch thick glass in between it, and just train to be on the same team. They never talk the whole fucking time. Then they go out there and they're on the same. I mean, what a great show that would be. Yeah. Just for the sake of just weird things.
Facundo, for the athletes that are living and training there in Mayhem, not just the team athletes, but all of them that are there, what's the general feel or approach during the Open? Because I think that's shifted a lot for elite athletes in the last 2 years. So what's the kind of mindset surrounding the Open at Mayhem?
I was there 2 weeks before, 2 weeks ago. So the Open was still a little bit of a vague idea. We knew the date and so on, but. Yeah, I winning the Open doesn't bring any advantage whatsoever going to the next stage. Just maybe some money if you win it. Mm-hmm. So, but what it does, it can put you a little bit behind on your normal training. So, are you going to be peaking for that weekend of the quarterfinals, or you would have spent some of your money already on the 3 weeks before the quarterfinals? So I don't think that it's very much of a big issue there. Yet again, I wasn't there, but generally what happens is in the first day, they hear the announcement, they take the measures, put the thing, we all go, done. What are we doing next? Rich has been doing the open workouts, I think, once and very often on Thursdays or Fridays mornings. But I don't believe that it's something that stresses them particularly.
And I assume, I mean, and it's pretty crazy. I think Fantasy Fitnessing on Instagram put out a thing about his consistency over the last 4 years being the best amongst all male competitors during the Open, well, that's a fact, and to know that he's doing it one time without much preparation. I mean, in fact, he seems to be doing it to then pass on information to the rest of the Mayhem community, and he's still able to finish in the top 10 worldwide year after year. It's pretty crazy.
But it's the way. I remember many years ago when I started working there. It was during the Open announcement, and on Friday morning we woke up and said, let's do the workout, and that was the case. And I was judging him, so I wanted to be very, very clear the idea in my mind of what I had to judge and the standards and everything. And I think that he took less time to prepare and to warm up than the time that I needed to read the 4 pages of the
You judged Rich in an open workout?
Yeah, in a couple, yeah.
Is there there's probably no easier athlete to judge.
Still stressful.
It is stressful because I remember the first one was one with I don't know how many wall balls and double unders.
Oh, like 19.1.
6, 7, 8, 9. And what do you want? You're going by one. English is not still my mother tongue, so I can triple there too. And so no, it's very simple because he moves very well. He moves so well, and he doesn't take shortcuts when he does that. He never takes. So,
but he's also counting, and he knows everything.
I know.
So you're kind of there, just like.
I know. I'm just the person. I'm just signing the scorecard, right?
Yeah.
He's very aware of whatever is happening. He's very aware of what he's doing, and he's very aware of the reps of the person behind him. I don't know how he does it, but he knows. He knows.
Is it what's the etiquette? What's the etiquette there? And feel free to choose any example, but I'm going to choose an example. Rich and Luke and Samuel are going to do the open workouts. Everyone says they're just going to do it once and be done. And then they all do it once and they're done. But then Samuel sees, oh, you know what? I'm going to do it again. And let's say he's in third and he does it again and he beats Rich and Luke. Is that okay? I think it's okay, but
it's very okay.
Anyone can change their mind. There's no etiquette. Everyone knows you're just trying to do. Everyone just do you.
Yeah.
If you want to do it 20 times, do it.
Anybody who sees the videos that we publish on Mondays or on Fridays, we see that often Haley beats Rich, and Rich he's just, it's not a problem. And we all understand that this is goal. But in the case of Sam, I'm guessing that maybe Rich wants to train on Monday. And he said, well, if you want to do the open again, you can go for it. But maybe after this, we need to do the team training. I really don't know how they are doing it at this time, but yeah.
So there's no tension there. Everyone knows that they're supposed to be the best. There's no there's no rules around that or etiquette around that.
No.
It's okay if I know your score. It's okay if I see Haley's score and then I just go out and try to beat it just because I want to beat her on the leaderboard.
I don't think that anybody. I don't think there is much competition among themselves. There are a lot of alpha males or individual male athletes that want to, beat the other one. We have Tyler. We have Guy. But I think that they are very respectful, and I think that if there is some competition among themselves, will happen in a proper competition, in a proper live competition. If when you have that one chance to show whatever you've got. I think in this back and forth of I do it again, I beat you for 1 second, I'm not sure. And actually, as an example, last year in the last chance qualifier, Angelo went head to head with Tyler. They would do it face to face. They were both. Tyler finished third. Angelo, I think, finished top 10. And if they were really competing, wouldn't have gone 50 kilometers away, do it on his own, and no.
Tyler's Bailey Ray's boyfriend, is that? Yeah, we had him on the show. What's his last name again?
Christopher.
Christopher. Okay, I was going to say Morrison. It wasn't even close.
No.
Not even close. So I want to go back to Samuel Cornwall just real quick, and then I'll bury the hatchet. But I want to say something a little bit extreme. So there's two ways to look at this, really extreme ways. One of them is like, hey, something's wrong mentally, and he's going to team to hide. That would be like worst case scenario. He's not fit enough. He doesn't believe in himself. And then the other way is like, actually, no, going teams with Rich is the pathway he's taking to win the games, because it's to spend some intimate times with the greatest who ever did it. And then from there, launch out. So that's sort of the narrative that you believe.
I will answer now, but after, did you ever tell Matt Fraser that Rich was the greatest that ever lived?
No, when I'm on the show with him, Matt's the greatest. When I'm on with you, Rich is the greatest.
Good. Okay.
And if Tia ever comes on, she's the greatest.
If Tia comes on, she's by far the greatest. Better than both of them combined.
That's no doubt. No. I'm sure Brian knows it better than me, or more accurate than me. Sam went to the games 2 years ago. He was very, very sick. Very sick. He didn't manage to win an event, and he managed to finish top 20 despite the state in which he was. So there's nothing. I don't think there is anything negative about his performance or his, role as a competitor. On the contrary, I think that as you well said, this is it might be a great step for him to even improve the immense potential that he has. And he's a great person. He's a very nice person to be around. That is something quite important if you move to Cookville, just because you spend a lot of time, and I think that Sam has all of these elements to him.
Yeah, I mean his commitment by going there and leaving his kid and his wife is pretty insane. And then on top of that, I don't know if I've ever interviewed someone who seems mentally more strong than him. When he's on the show, it's like talking to a hammer.
When this video came out, everyone thought that Rich's new teammate was Batman.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then it was just Sam.
I mean, we one of the incredible things about Mayhem is I believe we have the best media team ever. I mean, the quality of the material they produce and the creativity they have. I mean, I know that you had Scott on the show last week, and we have
Vandersloot.
Yeah, Vandersloot is kind of a Dutch Belgium name. Bennett, Benjamin, Carlos, David, Jen, Kelsey. It's amazing. It's a team, and they are the greatest people to have the chance to work with, and they are talented as few. So whatever comes out of that media room, it's amazing to my eyes at least.
Facundo, did you see who I picked to win the Open this year for the men?
No. Oh.
You didn't see?
No, I haven't seen.
Oh, it wasn't you.
It wasn't.
It wasn't you. No, I picked Sam Cornwall.
Oh, really? Okay, good. Yeah, I mean,
I thought he would have a chance to do it. I think he was 7th place last year. He's been in the top 20 many years over, and he's a little leaner this season than he has been in past seasons.
Yeah.
Coming off a great showing in Miami, training in a good environment, and down there, I think he has a chance. I mean, it's super hard, obviously, to pick a winner for the Open, but
completely. Yeah, I mean, he certainly has the capacity.
And I made that pick before knowing that he was actually on that team.
Okay, so maybe now the stress is less for him as well, since I'm going on teams.
Well, one of the other factors that you mentioned is, it's not a ton of money compared to some other competitions, but if you do win, I think is it 15 or 20 grand this year? And for a guy who's, left his young family to come and do something professionally, I'm sure that he would be happy to win that money.
I think many people would be happy to get 15,000 by doing something they like to do.
Right.
And they do for free the whole rest of the year, right?
Well, I wonder. I hear that the boys who are going to Iceland are getting their way paid. They're getting their food, their housing. I don't know if it's true, but I'm hearing that. So that to be on the team with Annie, that there is a she's in Iceland, right? That's her country.
Yeah.
That island. Okay. So and I wonder if any of that has, if Samuel, there's something like that too. You go on the team and there's something that's taken care of for you. I mean, it is pretty damn nice for anyone, I guess, who's at Mayhem. I don't know how it works there, but it is pretty nice that you have a media team that I'm assuming you don't have to pay for. I'm assuming Rich pays for the media team, and it's like it's a mutually beneficial, right? I mean, he gets all that footage. He's in the documentary. It's on YouTube, and you get the extra eyeballs that were there just to see Rich, to see you, and then Rich ends up has to pay Scott Vanderslut. Is that? Can I say that? Scott Vanderslut? Is that?
Yeah, I mean.
All right,
Yeah,
I'm going to use his name a lot more now.
Yeah. Okay.
So I get. Is that? Do you know if that? Do you manage? Are you a manager and a coach? I have trouble.
It's funny because since
I really want you to be a manager too.
Always say that I was a manager. Even when I was a volunteer at the CrossFit Games, you asked me, "Are you a manager?"
Yeah.
I'm serving coffee here. In the old Marriott in Manhattan, I'm sure Sevan remembers those years very well.
I think that's actually how you first got your job in politics. You were just there like doing the janitorial duties, but you looked very elegant. And so they asked you a question, you just pretended that was your role, and next thing you know, you had an office upstairs.
No, it was even worse. It was even worse than that. I mean, I wanted to pursue my PhD in neurosciences, and I failed to do the exam, and I didn't have a job. I didn't have anything. No studies, no job. And I met someone who needed a person who spoke German decently. And they said, well, but you need to move to Brussels. You need to work on politics. I said, okay, I'll do it. And yeah, it was challenging the first years, to say the least.
So are the members on the team at Mayhem, are they given a stipend? Is that a paid position?
I cannot answer that because I really don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
I really don't know. But what I know, for example, is that I think that Sam's living with Luke, and it's not like moving to Iceland to me seems like a big change compared to coming to Cookville. Cookville is very small. It's they're the whole time together. I know that he was living also with Luke before. I mean, you follow on social media with their dances and so on. So yeah.
But really, Samuel should pay. I mean, Canada has got to be one of the worst places in the world. At least what's so-called free countries. I mean, it is a shithole, and then in Cookville is probably one of the freest places in the world, and Rich is there. So it's like, I mean, and by the way, I think Josh Bridges owns some acreage next to Rich. So if anyone wants to offer Josh money for that, he would sell it now that he's vanished off the grid somewhere. Okay. Josh has fallen in love and vanished.
Okay, he won't be the first one, right? That's not
right. Fallen in love and vanished.
Vanished, yeah.
This is what Sevan fears is going to happen to Katrin too. He thinks it's already happened.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that. I think that was a bit unfair, though.
That she fell in love and vanished.
No. On the contrary, I think that maybe she gets some fire back. In Iceland.
I think this is a bounce back year for her. Sevan thinks I'm crazy.
Yeah, she trains. Because in Reykjavik, there's a very high level of athletes competing there and training there. It's not just Annie. There's a very well-established box with a lot of the Icelandic people go and train there.
And one of the best coaches in the sport that probably doesn't get the recognition of some of the others in Yami.
That's true.
Completely.
That's true.
And no, I mean, look,
I would love it so
not to
much.
say she wasn't with one of the best coaches with Ben, but people think leaving Bergeron, well, what do how can we go from there? But Yami has just as great of a track record.
I really hope she kicks. I hope she dominates and wins, and I hope she breaks off Tia's arm and eats it. But that's not going to happen. And I would love to come on here and be like, holy shit, I had this go wrong.
There's a difference between having a bounce back year and beating Tia.
But I think that I think that it's over. Like over. Like we're gonna see her like work in a booth.
Do you remember when everybody said that Annie was over because of that bad year? And then she came back and she made it a podium immediately the following year, and then she made it again. I think Brian could not testify, but maybe could adjust any wrong comment. But yeah, I mean, these people and Katrin is a very clever girl. Look, if she wants to dedicate love because she deserves it, and she's happy there, it's fine. I think that she's a competitor, and I think that if she works hard, she doesn't have much to envy to anybody.
Oh, of course. It's just fodder for the show. It's just 3 minutes of talk for the show, some YouTube revenue for myself. But I saw her at Rogue. I don't even recognize her. I think she looked the worst she had ever looked mentally, just her face, everything. And I think that I think that there's just a lot of signs.
Yeah, but I think
how much would I love to be wrong? I'd love to be wrong.
Yeah,
I'd
I
love
mean,
to, but I
think
just
that
don't
Raw-
think I am because I hardly ever.
Everyone loves it when you're wrong.
Yes.
I think that Raw was special. Maybe it was the first competition she wasn't doing with Ben. Ben was there too. I mean, she was on her own there. Maybe it was, it was the first one, but I will never ever discard Katrin and her capacity and her talent and her potential, and and the great person I think she is.
I think maybe she's one of the most charismatic to ever do it.
I mean, that smile. I mean,
I agree.
T-shirt.
Yeah, she's one of the most charismatic to ever.
I think that Katrin, Sarah is very charismatic. Like, it's like kind of the ace of hearts, like people's choice. Even if she doesn't do well one time, people will love her and root for her.
Or 5 times.
Yeah.
Facundo, do you play a lot of card games?
No, I don't play any card game whatsoever.
We're desperate for content when Brian brings up the cards. Here we go.
No. He's just he's a very cultured guy. So I thought maybe he has like a background in bridge or something like this.
No, I don't.
I got a question.
Brian invents card games. Brian invents card games.
That's
right. I think that Brian is dying for this question for a while, for some days now. So I let him pop it. Go on.
No. I've been curious to ask you this for a long time. I think you speak 6 languages fluently.
No, I speak 5 languages.
5. And what?
None of them properly, as you can see.
And what? I was just curious. What are the 5, and in what order and age did you learn them?
Well, Spanish is my mother tongue. Then French. I studied French when I was in kindergarten, actually. Then English, Italian, and German. But German is now the language that I speak the most, probably.
And you learned it the latest in life.
Yeah, it was very hard.
And you were already an adult when you learned that.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
around those years.
It's just, I mean, I don't know a lot of people, or maybe anyone else, who speaks 5 languages, and it's always, it's very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, we moved a lot with my family, so when I was part of it, Belgium, it's here in Belgium. So my daughter speaks fluently 2 languages and a third one that she can also speak, and she actually corrects me my pronunciation in both German and French. And when I'm in good mood, I find it so sweet. But when I'm in bad mood, and she corrects me, I'm like, okay. I think that Sevan fell asleep. But,
No. I'm fascinated by this. This is just bullshit. This is understating how fascinating it is that you speak 5 languages. Monolingual, a person who knows only one language. That's 40% of the world's population. Bilingual, a person using or able to speak 2 languages. That's 43% of the population. That leaves us 17% left. Trilingual, a person speaking 3 languages fluently. That's 13% of the population. So what does that leave us? That leaves us, we're now at 96%. That leaves us 4% left. Multilingual, a person who speaks more than 2 languages, but used often for 4 languages or more. Oh, shit, I didn't know that. That's 3% of the world's population, so that leaves us 1%.
And that's Facundo.
A polyglot. Have you heard this word?
Yeah.
Okay. Polyglot, someone with a high degree of proficiency in several languages. That's less than 1% of the world's population speaks 5 languages. Well, less than 1%. Here it says it's less than 1% of 1% on another. I mean, it's got to be even less than that. I mean, I know I hang out with just some of the dumbest people on the planet. I know I'm in the United States and like we're English, but hey, your perception has to be so different. Are you aware of that because you speak multiple languages and naming is I mean, we've had so many guests on lately who are basically saying, like we had Jim Hensel on and one of the foundations is if you can't put words to it, you don't have the tools to use it in the world. And people don't realize how profound that is. Naming is the origin of all particular things. If you can get your head wrapped around that, it should explode. And so if you know 5 languages, you're a world-class magician.
Well, that I know the language doesn't mean that I can use it proficiently in order to, apply cognitive sense to them. Maybe randomly I learn them. Yeah, I don't know. It's has been. I did study Korean for 1 year, so I could write in Korean, couldn't speak very much, and I lived in Brazil for a bit more than a year when I was a toddler.
I'm going to give you the test whether you're proficient in all 5 languages. This is the test. Ready?
Okay.
Have you had mates in all 5 of those languages?
I don't remember. I'm too old for that. I've been married so many years that now, I've been married so
Facundo,
many
you're
years.
swerving. You're swerving, buddy. You're avoiding the question. I hate to see the dishonest side of you.
Facundo, let me ask you this: since you brought up Korea, I was kind of critical of that selection for a host of a semifinal this year.
Yeah.
I think that it would be a great spot to have it in future seasons. But for me, I felt like CrossFit should have prioritized the potential to have live competitions this year. Do you have any feelings about that?
Okay. Yeah. So how that relates to having chosen South Korea?
It's more difficult to travel there currently than it is to other your Asian countries.
If I were
Great question.
If I were the director of a semifinal, in the Asian territory or the African, it's a bit complicated because you are only be able to display a very few number of athletes that are famous enough to bring sponsors to the table, right? So how many people that are going to be competing in the Asian semifinal are worldwide known? Of course, the Russian, of course, Roman and Alexander Ilin, and there is a number, but it's a minimal number. So I'm guessing that I wouldn't be very probably very keen on investing so much with such a high risk. So I'm guessing that in that sense, because I know that CrossFit had the Asia CrossFit Championship in Shanghai, which I went, and it was a great competition. And
you saw a great Marvel movie there.
We got with 3 times in a row, yeah. Yeah. But I guess that I don't know. I mean, I'm working with a lot of athletes doing BCC. So we're Copa Sur now, the Brazilian one, and of course that is the best.
Is it the same? Is it the same competition directors, just rebranded name?
Same competition director, and they rebrand the name, but they also move locations. They are not as before. They are not going to be close to Vitória, which is another city in Brazil.
Well, there were some, I think, since we're just traveling all over the globe, there's some people in the comments earlier who were asking about Mayhem Libertad. Can you tell us about the origins and how that came to be?
Yeah. Great question.
Yeah. Okay. So there is an info. Yes. Inside info, everything's been published.
Oh, I just had to say one thing. Sorry to interrupt. No, I saw that earlier and I thought someone was asking about Mayhem Libertad. That's like have you heard that term in the United States? Libtard is someone who's a liberal in the United States. Yeah, and I was like, I can't, what is this nonsense? It's Libertad. My goodness.
Yeah. Remember
about not knowing languages. I don't even know my own
in
language.
America he was talking about?
Yeah. Libertad. Oh my goodness. I'm like, Gershwin, it was kind of unlike him to use that term too. I was like, that's kind of how he must be doing some morning drinking. Okay.
It's one of my biggest prides, actually. Last time that I was with Sevan on the podcast, we hang up, we finished the live, and he asked me, what do you want to do? And so on. I remember telling him, you know what? I was in South America not long ago. I don't know if you remember, Sevan. And I said, I really want to invest whatever I can do there. That's where I come from. And I feel that I feel still that life has been so great that I wanted to give people where I come from the same opportunities. So I came back to the Cookville and I talked to Rich and I said, Rich, financial situation in South America is very different than, of course, in the States. So not many people have access to a full international program because the dollar is extremely expensive. So we created Mayhem Español, which is actually 2 of our tracks, Mayhem Compete and M30. We translated everything in Spanish, the videos, all and simultaneously. So the people that are doing Mayhem in English, they get X thing on Monday, and the people doing it in Spanish is the same thing. So I felt that I was, that's the team. That's my team. One of the teams, actually, because I'm still doing the coaching of Mayhem Freedom. Hopefully they don't crash when they meet each other. But, having had the chance of, bringing Mayhem, the program, into South America, I find it also a great opportunity to start working with athletes in South America and exposing them to our methodology. And the last thing I want to say about it, it's like, and I even remember having talked to Sevan about it. Very often, and people actually still ask me today, what is the difference between an American athlete or a European athlete, a South American or an African, and so on? It's like it's the difference, right? And it is true that South American have less opportunities than Americans. You guys have incredible high schools with a lot of sport, with access to great coaches from from high school times and so on and so on. And what about if, you know, you give to these people who feel they have the potential, but they don't have the opportunity, you grant them the opportunity to have a great programming. You know, Sasha is in the United States, Santiago Comba, Uruguay's fittest man twice in a row, went with me 2 weeks ago. What happens if we take the lack of opportunities out of the equation? And now you have a great program. Now you have trained with Rich Froning and Haley Adams and everybody else. So what is your excuse not to be as great as you think you are? And that's what we did. That's what we're working on. So we want to minimize. Our idea was to build a bridge into this communities that didn't have the same opportunities and be able to grant them in the measure of what we're able to do. And yet again, so.
But it's an interesting, that specific team is an interesting makeup. I think a lot of people who know the caliber of athletes there, like Nicolas Bedarte and Melina Rodriguez, were people I picked to make the games out of Latin America the South American region last year.
Yeah.
And they both, I think they both, I don't know what happened to them necessarily.
Yeah, I think it happens. So Mel, so the beautiful girl in the middle, she got a terrible COVID 3 weeks before the Open. She was hospitalized for many days.
And just say this, like, in my opinion, last year there were 3 women in South America who had a chance to take the 2 spots. The other 2 took those spots, and she finished like 15th. So that's not surprising to hear that something major was wrong with her.
She lost a lot of weight. She you know, the year before she was in BCC, she won BCC. She also won through the Open. You know, I was extremely lucky to have the chance to work with them. Santiago, Nicolás, and Jimena de la Mer. She was several-time master athlete at the Games. Right. She won the Open at her category 2019. So, you know, they made it easy for me. It's not that I choose people and there are no ones. They are very, very well-established athletes. So that is what Mayhem Libertad is. It's
Say it again. Mayhem Libertad.
Libertad, yeah.
Libertad.
It's like liberty, like freedom. So it's a bit of a. So Gertrude, that's the info. We have Mel Rodriguez, multi-time. She went to the Games, I think, twice as a team member, as individual once. Santiago Comba went as a national champion of Uruguay. Jimena went, I think, twice as a masters and once as a team member with Big, I think. Big friends, I'm sure you remember, Brian. I might be.
You're doing great.
And Nicolas didn't make it to the Games yet, but he is an extraordinary athlete.
And people will probably at least recognize him if they follow the Underdogs team, because he spent basically the whole last season with them.
Yeah. Oh, which guy? Which guy in that picture?
In the center.
The blue.
Oh, and what country is he from, of origin?
Three of them are Argentinian, the girls and Nicolas, and then Santiago is from Uruguay.
Okay. Wow. And so this is the Mayhem Libertad team that you're leading to basically, in a nutshell, bring the Mayhem experience to Spanish speakers.
Yes.
Around the world. You know, what's interesting about that, I'll just throw a quick plug for this guy right here. This is I think it's brilliant, Facundo. This guy right here, Patrick Bet-David, who wrote this book, Your Next 5 Moves. He's a Iranian-Armenian immigrant who left Tehran with his family at the age of 10 during the Iraq-Iran war. He comes to the United States, you know, raised on the streets of Glendale, tough Armenian upbringing, lots of gang shit like that. 1.8, you know, GPA, 800 on the SAT. Can't figure out what he wants to do with his life. Eventually gets way into business, reads like 1,500 business books, right? He launches an insurance. The life insurance. The average life insurance broker is a 57-year-old white man. He starts a life insurance company where the average employee is a 34-year-old Hispanic woman, and he's fucking rich as shit today. And I just think it's like he just took something. It's like what you said, and gave a whole different demographic access to it. And I just think I don't obviously I think that I'm a huge fan of Patrick Bet-David, but what you're doing is just crazy. Like the implications of what you're doing are massive. Like who knows? Like forget the Games athletes. Imagine the fire you're starting over there.
Well,
I mean, it's pretty awesome.
I to be honest, it comes more for the side of creating opportunities and minimizing the lack of opportunities as an excuse not to get somewhere.
You're bringing the horse to water, and you can't do more than that.
Exactly. So Santiago came with me to Cookville some weeks ago, and I don't know who was on the. I think that Angelo mentioned that newcomers need to stay away from Haley because she will, kidnap them. And they said, "Okay, you train with me, boy." And that is what happened. Santiago came there.
Guy said that too. He said he showed up and she just fucking mashed him.
It was like 5 strength session in the morning, 3 workouts in the morning, and Haley is, she can manage that volume. She's extraordinary, more than extraordinary to my eyes. She's perfection to my eyes. But so Santiago was trying to cope with that, and he came back to Argentina because he's living there now, and then said, they started talking and discussing about his experience and the whys and the why Haley does that. And there's a moment, it's a funny moment. He's going to hate me for me saying it, but there's a moment they were training kind of a relays. Haley was with Tasha and Santiago was with John, and they were doing relays, right? And at a moment, they kind of met each other together, starting at the same time, Haley and Santiago. And when that round had ended, which was in the middle of the workout, and they have a rest time, Haley says, "Hey, boy, don't try to catch me. Don't try to do anything you cannot sustain. We have still 5 rounds. So go and the fact is, a girl like Haley, 21 years old, and you see very shy as she is, but she said it with a lot of love, saying like, calm down. This is not what you should be doing now. Probably, maybe later if you can, if you still have something to, to bet on that. But and then the fact that Santiago comes back and shares that, and there's a lot of knowledge about that at the end of the day in how you perceive your training, in how you perceive your performance.
And you have to be aware of your surroundings. It was last year at the semifinals in Granite Games. I did a workout that Matt Fraser was hosting, and I just lined up in the back of a line, and he's briefing the workout. And next thing I know, everyone starts, and he jumps in the line right next to me in the same heat as me. And it's an imam, so I know I'm going to be skiing when he's skiing, biking when he's biking, et cetera, et cetera. In the first round, I went for it a little bit, and I paid for that, and he, just demolished me.
Yeah.
In the middle rounds, I just used there were 7 rounds. In rounds 2 through 6, I used to recover. And then in round 7, because I knew we were the last heat, so everyone who'd finished would be watching the last round. So I made sure I had enough to do my best to match him in the last round. And I was able to match him on the last round of burpees. But what no one knows is he was doing the same thing every round. I was sandbagging the middle 5 rounds just so I could try to look not embarrassed in the last round.
Yeah. For you, it was a full performance-based workout. For him, was kind of an adaptation thing. Let's see, I do that and I'll finish at 25 seconds. Yeah.
Part joking, but I think there is some seriousness to it. There is a fear that when Rich is away, that Haley is so alpha that she takes over and just runs everyone metabolically into the ground. And I just kind of love that there's that oh shit, you're safe with Rich, but you're not safe with Haley. I mean, what that's crazy. But I just like that story.
I would not describe it negatively. If I'm an
right, not negatively, but it's good for the folklore. You know what I mean? It's oh shit, Rich is gone. The big alpha's gone, and now we're stuck with Haley. It's even worse. What?
Which is also an alpha, but yes. Which is also very much of an alpha. But what I'm trying to say is that even if the volume or whatever is not what you are expected to do, to have the experience of doing that side by side next to one of the greatest athletes that we have, right? In which probably for certain aspect of our sport, it might be the best or the second best or the best. It's also a learning curve. And so she really kicked my butt, but I learned a lot from that. She breathes there's a lot of things that you learn doing that. And the funny thing is when I work I don't train a lot, but when I go to Mayhem, I never train because I love to see what these people do because it's so amazing the way they do it. I feel you. I want to go ahead, Brian.
The international presence of the Mayhem is not stopping in Cookville or South America. In this offseason, first of all, last year there were several very competitive Canadian men, especially that were part of the Mayhem programming. In the offseason,
Fakowski?
No, Alex.
Oh,
and Sam,
yeah. Sure, yeah.
That's 3 of 6 that made the games last year who are following Mayhem programming of some kind. And this year, obviously, the addition of Lazar Djukic in Europe. I'm not sure if there are any other European men of that prominence. But what's really caught my eye is, well, Roy Stunn's been with Mayhem for a while, but also Cara and Baden Brown are now part of the Mayhem family. And just this international reach that Mayhem's starting to have to most parts of the world is pretty impressive.
Yeah, we started working also with another female from Europe, Manon Angonese.
Oh,
actually.
Huge fan.
I knew it's your style.
Huge fan. Hey, because she's like, to me, she's like the D-ball queen. I just saw her doing that thing. I don't know where it was, but when she was touching the 100-pound D-ball, that like really fucking or the bag, that really lit a fire under my ass. I immediately followed her. I'm like, what a savage. Yeah,
so your question, my dear
I
Brian,
love her. What?
No, I thought there was a question.
There was. I just got excited when I heard her name, Miss Mayonnaise. She is awesome. God, she's awesome, and she's not coming.
What?
She's not. She can't come to the games.
No, she didn't want. She didn't want to go to Manon. Didn't want to go to the Palooza because of vaccination things. And
yeah,
so on.
yeah. And she can't come to the States because she doesn't want to take the injection.
Well, maybe there's a chance for a change.
God, I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
Yeah, she's one of those European athletes. I don't know that she's as good as Karen Freyova, but they're similar in the regard that they have gotten close many times, and I don't think that people outside of Europe know how good they are.
Exactly. Yeah.
But she has Manganese has the hard part. I mean, it's all hard, but she's got like the really hard part. She's got it right.
Yeah. I mean,
the part that takes forever to develop, she's already got. She developed that part.
There's some adjustment that need to be done, in the next weeks. But hopefully we have enough time for the time where semifinal come to have improved those aspects and allow her to display them.
And
have you met her in person? Either of you guys? Have you guys been with her in person?
Of course,
in Dubai.
I was with her 3 days ago. She came to train with me, and we shared a bit of ideas for the future. And she's, I told Manon, she came to my place some months ago before deciding to start working together. And I even told her, Manon, this is incredible because she said she's one of the people that has the strongest inner fire in her that I know overall on the female athletes field. There's a fire that burns her, the way she does in the positive way. Yeah. But I don't think that the fire was under control still. It was this passion was so strong in her that maybe we will work in controlling that and putting all that fire on the right place, but because she's an extraordinary athlete. And I hope that this year or very soon, she has a chance to prove that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, does she have presence? Like when you're in the room with her, like we were talking about Katrin. Katrin has crazy presence. Does that lady have presence, Miss Manganese?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. She's completely. Actually, no, I don't think I'm quite sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I just love seeing her. Where was that I saw her do that? The touching where was that? Where was it?
It's in Dubai. Wasn't it in Dubai?
Oh, Dubai. Okay. That's where she was.
And she's had some very good lifting performances there too.
She's very close. And she's in a professional Olympic lifter. She finished quite high in the Europeans and so on. So she knows when she takes a barbell, she knows what she's doing.
And there are some opportunities in the Europeans women's field this year. They still only get 10 spots, but with Annie on the team and Kristen retired, that's 2 almost locks that are now open for some of the younger.
And Sam gone too, right?
Sam is competing this year, but it's her last year. So she's announced that this will be her final year. She barely made it in last year. I think it will be difficult for her to make it in. The women's field is very strong, but betting against Sam Briggs is probably not the best choice. But she's still continuing to redefine what's the upper end for limit of competitive in the elite women's field.
Can I ask you a question, Ryan? Because Sevan likes to stress people. I that too, but you never get stressed. Who do you think is the female athlete that is the most overrated on the field today?
Oh shit! I would never put you in that position, Brian. Good job, Facundo.
Hired. This gentleman, whom I like very much, my friend Brian, he dares to put leaderboards before competition that sets the mindset of an athlete. Why wouldn't we ask who do you think is an overrated athlete? I would like to know your opinion.
In the women's field worldwide?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that you know, it's this. I have to think about this in the context of the season. And I am not, someone was asking this in the comments earlier, actually. I'm not really a fan of the current way that the spots are allocated globally. And so I would say that someone like Ellie Turner might be a good example for something like this. I think Ellie Turner is incredible, and I think that she has an incredible potential in her career, but she's super young. And last year, because Tia couldn't travel to Australia and because Jamie was injured and unable to compete, she got an opportunity to compete there. And she did okay at the games. You know, she was in the 20s. And then she did really well in the first half of Wodapalooza, won a couple events in a row, and she faded towards the back of the competition. But overall, that women's field at Wodapalooza wasn't that strong. None of the top 10 women, except for maybe Bethany Shabburn, maybe Emma McQuaid, fringe top 10 athletes, were there competing. And so, you know, Ellie had the opportunity to make the games last year because of really technicalities. If Jamie and Tia were competing, no one would have seen her at the games. And then she did really well at Wodapalooza early in the weekend, but faded in what I would say was a subpar Wodapalooza field historically, at least over the last 3 or 4 years. So that's a really hard question, but that's someone that comes to mind.
I'll tell you who. He's just scared to say it. The most overrated athlete in the entire sport of CrossFit, there's two. It's Annie Thorisdottir and Danielle Brandon. And here's the reason why. No one can fucking look at Danielle Brandon and their brain just gets all fucked up. You can't think straight when you look at her. She's too damn beautiful. It's too much woman. It's like looking at a rhino run across the savannah at 30 miles an hour. You just can't comprehend this thing happening. So she's the most overrated. It's not her fault, but it's just you can't think straight when you look at her. And Annie, because it should have just stopped at Danielle. It's impossible that she took second place. She used magic. It's impossible she took second place. It's impossible that she came back from having a baby. She used witchcraft or something. It's impossible. And the way she did it with the smile on her face and humility and
she took third place and she took second at Rogue.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Thank you, Brian. Those two come to my mind as the most overrated, but it's not their fault. I don't mean it in a negative way at all. It's just
no. And when I put out the top 10 for the preseason rankings, there were a lot of people saying, "Where's Danielle? Where's Danielle?" Well, at the last two major competitions that she competed, she was just outside the top 10, and she hasn't shown yet that she can compete as a top 5, top 10 athlete against the best women. She might be able to eventually, but she's not there yet.
You got some stir there.
Huh? I'll cause some stir.
Yeah.
You know what? But that's okay. That's great.
Sevan, do you think that Annie's underrated? Do you think that Laura Horvath is underrated?
I don't understand Laura. I think Laura Hort. No, yeah, I think she's underrated. I think she underrates herself.
Well,
I think
wait. How could you say that she's underrated? I mean,
no, because he just put it away from the second position at the games. You know, there was a lot of controversy about why there was an interview to Tia, there was an interview to Annie, and Laura, who actually was the second spot, didn't get much of the attention.
Here's when I see Laura Horvath and I see Tia Toomey as like the perfect version of Tia Toomey. Like she cannot get any better. When I see Laura Horvath, I see something that can get better. I think Laura Horvath is like, we haven't seen the best of her. And I think with Tia, we have seen the best. I'm not saying it's going down, but I think we like that car is painted perfectly. It drives perfectly. Its tires have the perfect air pressure. It's stored in the perfect garage. I don't think Laura, wherever those components are that make it's like Rich. I think Rich is like sleeps every night in a helium chamber or something, and it's just kept perfect, you know? But Laura Horvath is not, all the pieces aren't.
He sleeps in the same metabolic chamber as Novak Djokovic.
Yes, yeah. Rich sleeps on the floor on a mattress. Wasn't that great when I had him on the show? And he said that I would never even admit that, and I do that. And here's the greatest guy I know, and he sleeps on the floor on a mattress so his kids can pile into his bed. I was like, oh, you set me free. Thank you, Rich.
He told you that?
What?
Rich?
Yeah.
He told you that?
Hey, and you want to know what? I slept on a single bed, and he's like, "No, I have a queen on the ground." So I immediately went out and bought a queen. I go, I deserve what Rich has, and I threw out my single.
I have not met any professional athlete or a very top CrossFit athlete that has the life that he has in terms of normality. It's such a natural thing. That might be his secret. It's natural to him. This life he has. There's no alteration. There's not a preparation extraordinary and a switch of my life because I'm competing. You know. That's what it is. Yeah.
He's cerebral as a motherfucker too. People don't realize that, but if you listen carefully to how he talks, he lets out the clues. And man, you hear these people who talk about Fakowski being so cerebral, the professor. I mean, Rich is he's been talking more and more that basically he's a head case. Like
do you know that
I love that.
In Europe it's illegal to call someone professor who does not have the degree?
In Canada, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So Brian, you can shoot because I know your mouth is forming with questions.
Well, I think that we should, if you're okay with talking about the departure, the transition away from working with Saxon.
Yes, I knew it.
Yeah, I heard you kick Saxon out. Is that true?
No, that's not true. Maybe. No.
I heard he was late on his payments. I heard you swiped his credit card 3 times. It bounced 3 times, and you sent him off.
I heard, and that's funny that you heard that. I heard it was super amicable, and that you helped with the transition to the next phase of his career. So maybe one of these is true.
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, after Wadapalooza and after Rogue, I think that I think that we were both maybe doing changes. I was taking our responsibilities for Mayhem, and that will take a lot of time out of me. And I think that because of the results, Saxon needed a person who was with him more time. I think that it worked very well that they were apart, but I think that that he made some changes and he wanted a coach that was closer to him. And yeah, and
do you have any insight into how he chose who that next coach would be?
Good question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is he was 5th place at the games last year. I'm sure that he could have had his choice to go anywhere he wanted, and people would have been happy to coach.
He's one of the greatest athletes on the field. I mean, it's an extraordinary athlete, and it's a pleasure to work with him. But he also wanted to move to Tennessee, so for some time now. And when we were discussing about the needs he had and what I could offer, and vice versa, came the idea of well, if you move to Nashville, you could train with Shane, which is a very good friend of mine, a very, very good friend of mine, and without any doubt, one of the best coaches on the field. And he's someone that lives there, and you can have access to him 24/7. Well, not 24/7, but most of the day if you want to.
There's only one athlete who has access to him 24/7.
Yeah, exactly. And but it felt a right decision for him to do, and I completely supported that. And I even talked myself to Shane about it. And and I think that actually I texted him before yesterday, and he told me he was extremely happy with everything, how things were going. He also, I think that it was a very important thing for him to move away from Ohio, and so that is what actually.
And I think this is a great thing for Saxon. Not leaving one coach, going to another coach, but just kind of a change of scenery, because he's 25 years old. He's already one of the best in the world, but I have this kind of feeling that he's like on a little bit of a plateau. And athletes go through this all the time. It's like he's just trying to break through from a top 5, top 10 to a top 3 podium threat guy.
Yeah,
and it's really, really hard to do.
Completely. And we talk about that. And one of the things that I told him, and that's what I'm very happy that he's there. I said, I think that you need to start training with athletes your level, because he was living in Ohio. He was training mostly with Saxon and with Scott, which he knew he knows everything that we do, he already foresees. But what about training with people that you haven't trained before, that you're not used to do that, and see what they can offer to you and what can you offer to them in a training environment. So that's why I think that going, and I was supported completely with Shane and with Tia, was a great decision.
What other dudes train at Proven? Top dudes.
Tia, Will Murad.
Oh, okay.
I think
and Sweet Homer.
And is John Colty there?
John Colty, I think so. He was there last year, because actually I came to see Shane and Tia last year. When I traveled to Cookville, I land in Nashville. So if they're around, we have coffee or whatever. As I said before, they are very good friends. And I was there last year. And
what about Spencer? What's Spencer doing?
That I really don't know.
Wow.
That I really don't know. I think that he's taking some time with Scott at the moment. but I'm not sure what it's going to do, because Spencer is also Spencer, and I always said it to Saxon. I think that Spencer is very magical. If he managed to have the fitness and his mindset like equal on the same line, he's very, very extraordinary. When we worked together, he presented results that I thought that he was kind of lying to me. It's like, show me the video, send me the video. No, because like it's not. So both of them are incredible. I had the chance to be with them for almost 2 years, and I think that this change, at least for Sax, because I don't know what Spence's going to do, it's going to be a great thing for him.
It's fascinating to me because I have twins, and I know that they're not normal creatures. And is this the first time they've been apart?
Yes, this is the first time they've been apart. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. We'll get them on and ask. This is a total side question. What? Not about CrossFit. When I communicate with you, I text with you, but a lot of my European friends, like Lazar, Lazar Djukic, he only WhatsApps, and I have a lot of European friends who only WhatsApp, and they don't want me texting them. Like Asim Malhorta, a doctor who's been on the show from the UK, he only wants to WhatsApp. Why is that? Why did you text?
Lazar is an app. It's very well known here, and it's very simple. You know, also you get a notification when the message has been read, and you can send files very, very easily. So it's what takes here. But talking about Lazar, someone that I still work with, and what do you think is going to be his season like, Brian? Because I know that Sevan likes Lazar a lot.
I do. I love him.
Well, he did make my top 10 preseason rankings, and I wrote about him there that he was the one guy on the list that I was a little nervous that I had too low, but I also didn't feel confident putting him any higher yet. So I think he has the potential to improve upon his games performance last year this season.
Okay, I mean, I think that he showed to me as his coach, he was so extraordinary in Dubai with a field that we know was quite challenging too, and he stood his ground. And I
would say that the field was moderately challenging. There were 4 very, very good men there. There were a couple others that have high level potential,
because we always decided to aim for the podium. So there were 5 people that they all would have access to that.
Yes. And so to beat 60% of those, and you're the other 20%, and you really beat 75% of the threats. Yeah. That's obviously very, very good. No, I've been a big fan of his for a long time. And really, since I saw him in Dubai the last time that they had a competition, and he placed 5th there behind Vellner, Fikowski, VKG, and Roman. I was like, and he was beating guys like Jonas Koski and a host of other games athletes. That was a very impressive games field. And to take 5th there, or Dubai field, and to take 5th there, told me that he had top 10 games potential, which he met that expectation last year. I think he can push for top 5 this year, especially when I look at the guys that are ahead of him. Medeiros is going to be there. He's very young, and obviously he's the guy to beat right now. I still think Vellner and Fikowski and BKG are relevant and podium threats. Mm-hmm. But you look at Saxon's changing environment. You look at Jonas Koski, he had an off-season injury. You look at Guy Mayeros, he won 3 events at the games last year. Like, that is a lot of points. Is he going to win 3 events every year? No. So can he pass him? Maybe. And then he's not going to win 3 events at the games every season.
Well, maybe 5 or 7.
We'll see.
Man.
Well,
no one's beating Medeiros or Tia.
No.
Medeiros era,
we're talking about individual events at the game.
I understand, but I'm just saying that
what I'm saying is
Medeiros
historically,
is unbeatable now.
On the men's side, Facundo, for your own education here.
I'm just teasing you.
No, winning 3 events this year already puts him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, tied for 11th in all of history for a games event wins. And there's only 2 men in history who've ever won more than 8. So it's hard to win 3 events in one season. Fikowski won 4 his rookie year. Yeah. He's won 3 since then.
I mean, he's been working very, very hard. And I think that many of these imbalances on the leaderboard that you saw last year are going to be minimized.
I would not be surprised by that at all. But the point is that the guys ahead of Lazar, with the exception of Medeiros, all of them have this, like, I'm not saying, like, Vellner and Fikowski, they're 31 and 32, 33. They should be fine, but you never know. And all of the others, there's like just a little question mark for me. So Lazar could make a big jump up this year, I think. because I don't have any real questions with him. Everything looks good. I think he's got I really like his coach this year.
Thank you.
And he's, from what I can tell and what I know, he's improving on the thing that he needs to improve on most at a steady rate. And I don't think he's giving away anything else that he's really already exceptional at.
Do you know Laura very well?
Yes, very
Okay,
well.
please talk to her. Thank you. I did not abandon Good Dudes. What happened is this guy said, "Hey, I want to sponsor your show," and I said, "I drink Good Dudes already," and he insisted, and he's like, "I don't care. You can push Good Dudes as hard as you want. I just want to give you money. I love your show," and I'm like, "Well, okay." I don't really feel comfortable doing that. Why don't you send me a shitload of coffee and I'll start drinking it? And he sent me a shitload of coffee and I started drinking it. He sent me this dope mug and he gives me money. And so it's like, I would still drink Good Dudes, but this shit's great. And he won my heart over. So there, so I get money and free coffee.
The way to Sevan's heart is his wallet.
Well, it's not, it's one way. One way. It's one other way too. Any new anything that we're missing, Facundo? Is there any surface that we're not scratching? Is there any new? I
want to circle back to the Australians. Okay. How does it happen that Cara, in this point of her career, decides to follow a Mayhem program?
Because it's a great program.
And same for Baden Brown. Like, was there a conversation involved? Did they reach out to you guys and say, "Hey, what would it look like if you wanted to do this?" Or did they say, "We want to do it," and you're like, "Great"?
Well, I know that Cara had some talk with Rich when they launched the eyewear together, and from that, Cara expresses like, do you think we can do that, and so on. And of course, I think what happened, and no, generally it's. I don't know what is with Baden, but I know that very often people reach us and we have a conversation, and what we try to do with that type of athletes is just not provide the generic programming, but provide some ads on. I mean, okay, this is our Mayhem Compete program, which is extraordinary. But if you're missing something specific that is not fully expressed on the daily or the weekly program, Jake, our head coach for Mayhem programming, our director, or me or Darren or whoever said, okay, well, we contact our athletes and we just want them to, to have access to everything we can do for them. So I think that for many elite athletes, that is something that sounds very
correct me if I'm wrong in this regard, but part of the Mayhem Compete programming is that I think you guys have experts in a variety of different fields. I think you have Chris, Sage, and Pamela that work with the three sets.
Hinshaw, of course, for every capacity, Pamela for gymnastic, Kelly Starr is doing all the mobility and presenting everything, preparing now for example, for the Open. A couple of hours after the 22.1 was announced, we created a reel that lasted quite some time, in which we have Kelly Starr talking about how to prepare the body for the workout, Pamela talking about gymnastics, wall walks, and so on. And so our people, our athletes we try to take care of them as much as we are able to. So yeah, that is.
And this is, I think it's important for people to understand that. I don't know the makeup of every, kind of mass pushed out program there is, but in this case, what I do know and what you just affirmed is that you have these experts in these different fields that are working together to provide the highest level gymnastics, the highest level of mobility, the highest level aerobic training. And am I right? The Sage Bergener works with you guys for the weightlifting.
Yeah, Sage is our weightlifting. Yeah.
So they have somehow or another have brought together the premier. I think all four of those are, if not the best, amongst the best in each respective field, to put together a program that's extremely well-rounded. And in the case that you have someone who is a serious competitor, who needs a little bit more than that, has access to someone who can maybe give them the more personalized approach.
Yes, but that's what we are working hard on. And we were very happy last year with the amount of people following our program that qualified to the games. 1/6 of the field were following Mayhem athletes. And, it's not just about the number. Maybe this year is less, maybe it's more. We are not wanting to improve a number. We just want to improve the program that we offer and the possibilities that it entails. And we are very happy with the work that has been done. And,
Did you say 1/6 of the field of athletes follow Mayhem programming?
Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. That's the number, right?
Yeah, Morning Chaka wrote about this. Yeah, following the games last year, and I'm not sure. And they had a huge amount of age group athletes as well, and
Crazy.
and now this year they're fielding four teams. We haven't actually talked about two of the teams yet.
We can do that. Yeah, but yes, I mean that's the point. And everybody who qualified to the games was invited to come to Mayhem in the month of July to prepare, to get into the competition mindset and so on. You talked with our extraordinary Jimmy the other day, Sevan, and we want to offer them everything we've got in order for them to get to where they think they have to go or they belong. Whether it's a podium or
I should include Jim as an expert in his field along the lines of all of those others that we listed.
Yeah, that's what it is. So that's what we're doing. We are very happy, and yes, Sevan, it was 1/6 of the field.
It's nuts. Has Cara been out there? Saunders, has she trained there?
No, she's not been yet into Cookville.
Yeah, I don't think she can.
I don't know whether she can or she can't, but I understand that she might be coming earlier, qualifying to the CrossFit Games.
I don't mean for I don't mean because we live in a giant prison. I mean because personality. I think there is no greater alpha in the sport than Cara Saunders. I think she's even more alpha than like Matt or Rich, or I think she is like she's like the Clydesdale, only one horse in this I don't mean it derogatory at all. I just think I think she is she's a powerhouse. I suspect I think she's a very special.
The other thing is I think back on her career, and I don't know that she's really spent very much time in an environment where there are a lot of high level athletes. She's trained very much on her own over her career, and then showed up and competed against it's almost old school to me. Like back in the early days, people would do all the training, then they'd get together and compete. And I think she's been mostly staying to herself for her career.
I never saw her hang out with the girls in the back, by the way, just for whatever that's worth. There's no point to what I'm saying, but she would hang with the dudes, maybe
because she lifted more than
but it kind of reminds me of like when you would hear about King Richard, Serena and Venus's dad, like they only played with guys, and so there's this I don't know, but there's definitely it is fascinating, Facundo, like what you were saying, like you love going to Mayhem and just watching them move, and it's also just the presence of these characters, right? They're like mythological creatures, kind of. You're like, there's the unicorn, there's the pterodactyl, there's the. I mean, they're almost like.
Me as a coach, I see them when I see them compete or doing workouts for adaptations, which are not based, to have a great time, but to move better, to learn something. Of course, I am amazed of the quality of the performance. But then again, when they are out of there, they're human beings, and you can see their frustration, their fears. Which is part of being a competitor too. There's no competitor who's happy, not happy, but like sure that everything is going to go the way they want to go. So of course these elements exist, and this equation of seeing this incredible display of fitness, and then having the chance to work with them as as the human beings we all are. Because when I see them competing, I don't take them as human beings. I see Haley training, and she's not a human being. She's she's from another world.
They're like it's like the in Greek mythology, was it Prometheus? Like they go back and forth between playing with the gods and coming down and playing with the humans. Yeah,
it's a good but as well said, we still have two teams. I just want to come back to it. So we have Mayhem Independence and we have Mayhem Justice. And Mayhem Independence, you already talked to Angelo. I think Angelo is going to be back on the call with you very soon.
Yeah, tomorrow evening.
So Luke and Angelo are very well known. I'm sure you know Alexis Johnson too. And Sasha was the first Argentinian athlete that moved to Cookville when we started all this project. And she comes from the weightlifting world, and she's been working very hard. I had the chance to work with them when I was in Cookville as a team, their first full team workout. And I have to say that I was very surprised on the quality they have as athletes. The other team, Mayhem Justice.
Okay, wait, let me try this. So Jessica Kalagian,
yeah,
she made the semifinals last year. I think she got a backfill and competed there.
She's Armenian.
She might be Armenian. If I'm not sure.
She is.
Does she coach in Cookville?
I don't know actually that.
I think that Aniston, the other woman, is a coach there.
Yeah, Aniston is a coach, yeah.
And
Ben is one of our media jewels.
But Ben missed making semifinals after the backfills by like five positions last year.
I know. It's pure talent.
So there, and then Seth is the one I know the least about.
So Seth is this is funny. This group of people.
Which one of those is the dude in there? I see 3 girls and a guy.
Ben is the dude. Ben is the dude.
He's hot. He's hot.
Yeah. And this is people that they train together at the Open gym in Mayhem. Well, as you know, Aniston is a coach, and they finally realize that they have the capacity, the potential, the quality to create a team and probably surely make it to the CrossFit Games.
Surely, I think they can make the games. I think it'll 4th or 5th in a semifinal is realistic for this team.
And Ben is challenged Dre as a fittest cameraman on earth. My good friend, that's Seth. And it's very cool. This is a movie.
This guy Seth he's pretty young.
He's pretty young. I mean, they're all very young. I mean, I'm an old person, Brian. So for me, everybody's very young. I'm sure Sevan has the same opinion. But
hey, that he's like the next Marcus Philly. Is that really true? He has a movie. It's called A Man in a Van or whatever.
Well, a film directed by Ben Looper, which is our one of our media team members, and Katrin said.
Tell them to change the name of that to A Man in a Van, and then that movie's ready to go. That guy with the van, I like A Man in a Van. It's got a little more Dr. Seuss to it, right?
I will, yeah. But this is our 4 teams, and I'm extremely excited about the hard work they've been doing. And of course, there is Mayhem Freedom, which we haven't mentioned, but of course they're there. There it is.
Is that the movie? It's a short movie, or is that the trailer?
That's a short movie.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. I'm actually going to watch that.
8 minutes. You'll even have 2 minutes to spare on the assault bike.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, who does the graphics? You were talking about how great the media team. The graphics are great too. The cards are great with like them kind of split into 4s like that and their names in the corner. I'm digging it.
Yeah, so Ben does a lot of the graphics himself, Ben Davidson. But I think that they also divide a lot of the work. I mean, one of the things we do in Mayhem is not like, this is my thing, nobody touches, I do it on my own, Whoever brings something interesting to the table, we are celebrating that's great, and we all do that. Whether it's media or project of training or whatever that is. So,
I bet you no one touches a marker and writes on the board when Rich is in there.
It's a bit more complicated. It's true that.
Someone grabs the marker.
I didn't mean to ruin your
grabs
story.
the marker and writes something up there. And he looks at it for a second, and then he just erases it.
That's a bit more complicated, but yeah.
Oh, Caleb, you're a good dude. You sent me a link to that movie in the private chat. You are a good dude.
Brian?
Facundo.
Yeah. Okay, no, I thought you have more. That's when.
Oh, so you were going to talk about Australia. Were you going to? Oh no, so you brought up Cara. We got Royce done over there. Is there anything that so we talked about Saxon. We talked about the war. We talked about the athletes in Europe. Lazar. We talked about
Manon.
I mean, we talked about. Is there anything we're missing?
No,
did you get any new athletes? Is it true you signed Fraser?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good.
That's why Mato Keefe came into HWPO. No. I think we're very happy where we are now. We have a lot of work to do. We are doing it the best we can, and we are very eager to start this season. That's where we are on.
I think we're done, unless you want to say something more about the 5 languages he speaks.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's very boring, but no, I mean that's where we are. I think that it's I said again, we are very eager of starting this season and see how our work can be expressed in terms of athletes, in terms of our programming, in terms of our community.
Facundo, do you think this is the year Haley makes the podium?
Yes.
I think it could be too.
I think you are the wrong person to ask, because Haley's like a sister to me, like a daughter. There was no way that I will tell you something that is not possible to do.
I saw what I noticed in Miami was that her legs look bigger in a good way.
She's been getting stronger. She's ready. You know, she's so extraordinary. I think that it's going to be another great year for her, because, you know, whether it's 4th, 5th, 6th, 3rd, the fact that the only teenager that managed to come from as a champion and to immediately made it 6 at the games and to stay there and to not be afraid of, you know, back in the day, I remember the first time we traveled together abroad was in London, and she was competing in strength and depth, and there was Jamie, Christine Holty, Sarah, all the girls, the strong girls, and you see Haley, she was 17 still, I think, back then, after the games, and, you know, she stood her ground. And from there on, she didn't do anything.
Well, and then she came back the following year, and it was her and Gabby and Laura, and there was, and then everyone else, you know.
And so the rate in which she's growing as an athlete, it's extraordinary, and I cannot say anything. You know, she's able to do whatever she sets her mind to do. That's my answer on her.
Hey, do you think that in my mind, the women's podium only has one spot? Is the men's podium the same?
Oh, I don't think
in my mind, the men's podium has 2 spots open.
The top of the podium, you mean?
Yeah, like I think that Tia and Laura have it secured, and there's only 1 spot on the podium. And in the men, Medeiros has it taken, and there's 2 spots. Is there? Do you guys think that way? And if there was a man, is that true? Do you think that there's 2 spots taken on the men's podium too, or no?
Like I think that Justin is an extraordinary athlete and a super nice person to talk with and, you know, to relate with. I would like him to see win again and see how he wins. And then they always say, okay, this guy belongs there, and it's going to be very difficult to take him away. But 1 year of winning the CrossFit Games, doesn't make me feel super comfortable of saying he's there today and he locked that first position. I would not say that it's going to be easy to beat Tia for sure, of course.
Well, okay, then how about this? Will you give me this? He's going to be on the podium.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Medeiros. I mean, if you're not going to give him the number 1 spot, you got to give him number 2 or 3 based on his performance last year. Maybe, right?
When was at the Games 2013, she won, and the following year she didn't qualify for the CrossFit Games.
Right.
And then she stayed. I mean, it was maybe the fittest of them all. After 10 years competing, she's still a display of, you know.
Right.
The way I see the landscape is, if you want to make the podium at the Games on the men's side, you have to be prepared to beat 2 of Justin Medeiros, Pat Vellner, BKG, and Brent Fikowski. Those are still the 4 guys to beat. And if you want to get on the podium, you're going to have to beat 2 of them. And for the women's side, there's Tia. And after Tia, I think if you want to get on the podium, the women standing in your way are Laura, Gabby, Haley. Those are that's okay. Like the next group for me right now.
So you have Gabby and Haley with Laura.
No, I would say that. Well, I put up my rankings. I said I think Tia,
what I mean
Laura,
is, I just
Gabby.
see them in tiers. I see Tia in her own tier, kind of hanging out, and then she flies at 30,000 feet. Laura flies at 20,000 feet, and then you have basically Haley, and I put Haley probably above Gabby also. I think Haley's in her own tier, and then it's really amazing to do that too, and they probably resent the fuck out of me for saying that if they even listen. But it is crazy that the top people are so damn good that they can set themselves away. It's nuts.
Gabby's an extraordinary athlete. It's an extraordinary athlete. And I think she's growing to an incredible rate. So I would never discard her on anything. And
you know what's so fascinating about it? Since the 2019 Games, the first event, which had legless rope climbs, and she got eliminated.
I saw it today.
She hasn't done legless rope climbs in a live competition since then.
Was not there in London for strength and depth when she finished. I think there was a legless workout in that year when Laura and Haley were competing. Okay. Because I think that I talked to her and she said, "No, it's getting better." Maybe it's in my head.
I guess I was thinking the 2020 and 2021 game seasons didn't have them.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are things that they are working on, and hopefully, you know, if there's a big chunk of handstand push-up strict, Laura is able to manage to do so. If Gabby with the legless, and and will.
But what really is fascinating is if either of them make it to the games, and even if they have that bad workout, it's okay. But depending on how the semifinals end up going, the 2 of the program workouts are programmed by CrossFit. The other 4 or 5 workouts we don't know are free to program. And you've seen it in the past with people like Katrin Davidsdottir, like Sam Briggs, who had one workout show up at a regional that was just something that everyone in the field beat him at, and that was enough to keep him out. And everyone who knows who I am knows how good the women's field is in Europe. And if, boom, a workout shows up that's got strict parallel deficit handstand push-ups, and Laura takes bottom 5 in that workout, is that going to be enough to keep her out of the games?
I know, but as I said before, many of my athletes are in the Brazil semifinal, which 2 spots, 2 men, 2 female, 2 teams. And we have not only Guy, but we have Agustin Richelme, another Mayhem athlete that has won last year BCC. He didn't do very well at the games, but he's an extraordinary athlete. And, of course,
he could finish in the top 10 in the Open, by the way.
Sorry? Yeah. He won 21.3, I think, or 2. The one with the muscle ups and the
thrusters and the
thrusters. He won the world in that workout. So he's an extraordinary athlete. But yet again, nobody can afford a big mistake. With 2 spots at that level of competition, is what it is.
I think that's the first time I've ever sneezed in a podcast.
I have a question for you, Sevan.
Yes, sir.
After now some weeks passed since Dave is not anymore at CrossFit, do you see any difference? Do you feel that things are settled and everybody has forgotten Castro and we move forward, or do you think that there's a void that's still there on the air?
Okay, I gotta go.
I'll say this. It's not surprising to me that they said that they were going to do the company since it was sold has lost complete integrity. It's completely lost its way of integrity and following the truth. Now, whether that matters, who that matters to, why that matters, whole different discussion, but it's completely lost its way of telling the truth. Everything that comes out from the mothership, not everything, 90% of what comes out from the mothership is double talk, bullshit, lies. And the Open just showed it again. They said it was going to be Dave's workout and it's not Dave's workout. So in that regard, that would be my comment on that. I know that doesn't answer your question exactly. I know that the show goes on, and I'm happy to see it go on, but I think I think it's a TBD, to be determined.
Okay.
They went from TDC to TBD.
Yeah. Facundo, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. And hope I get to see you very soon in a competition, especially you, Brian.
Well, that you might be in luck with regards to that.
You're not coming to Knoxville?
TBD.
Okay.
To where? To Knoxville?
Knoxville, yeah.
Yeah, you must be stoked 2 weeks in a row there.
Oh,
That's
no,
nice.
I'm going to go to 1 week because I have the Lowlands where hopefully Lazar and Manon are going to compete, and then I have to go to Brazil for the team and he and Agustin and Piero and then a couple of athletes that we have competing there. Also Victoria, who is the last person who didn't make it to the quarterfinal to this
Campos.
Yes, she's also a Mayhem athlete. So, but yes, thank you so very much for your time, and till very soon, I hope.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for coming on Sunday morning even. Wow, you're a good dude.
It's afternoon.